Do you wanna be a fisherman with his own boat, making thousands of dollars by fishing all day and then during the night get chased by an anglerfish pretending to be a boat? Personally, I say no to all of those things. So why am I playing this? Because my girlfriend asked me to review it, and in order to maintain a healthy relationship, you gotta do a little bit of simping, and do what the woman says, even if it forces you to face the terrors of the ocean again. The horrors are half the gameplay, the other half is fishing and upgrading your boat, and that's where the game hooked me. Haha, do you get it? Because of the fish? I am a sucker for upgrade mechanics. Premise: you are a fisherman sailing to an island to answer a job listing. Unfortunately, you sail into a storm and crash your boat. The mayor of Little Marrow, the island you were sailing to, loans you a boat so you can fish to work off the debt. But the villagers warn you that the night is dangerous, and that becomes very apparent if you spend the whole day fishing and forget to go back to the village to rest before the night comes. You will see strange lights around, possibly eyes looking at you from the darkness, and if you are really unlucky, you will encounter something dangerous and otherworldly, and even the fish you catch change during the night. You will be more likely to catch something strange. When you give the fishmonger one of those strange fish, he will carve it up and give you a red handkerchief that was stuck in the fish. As you leave the fishmonger, you get approached by the collector, who tells you to subscribe, and that he is searching for strange items like the handkerchief. He gives you the job of searching for more strange relics. It is a job only you can do as the island's new primary fisherman. And for that journey, you will need to fish a lot and earn money to upgrade your boat to withstand the dangers of this very freaky ocean. Gameplay. If you wanted to be a cynical asshole, you could say that this game is just fishing minigames the game, with some Lovecraftian Cthulhu stuff thrown in there to make it interesting. And that's kinda right, but it's fun. And once I started playing the game, I didn't stop until I beat the game. The fishing minigames are fun and diverse enough that you never get bored of them, even though they are as simple as hit F at the right time. I think the reason for that is the upgrade mechanics. I always got excited about getting fish because I could sell them to get money to buy upgrades, and you really feel the difference with the upgrades. Like slowly chugging along with your first crappy engine and then buying a better engine, and then you see the big difference in speed. Feels good. And you're of course researching and buying better equipment so you can fish faster, or buying special equipment to catch special fish. Or just buy a trawl net and crab pots and just get fish automatically. But no matter what, you're going to have to dredge scrap materials for upgrades, valuables and artifacts. That's the gameplay loop. Fishing and dredging to get upgrades so you can fish and dredge better. Just a little side note about the materials, you can put them in storage and you can access that storage from any island. I love that. They could have made it so you'd have to go back to that specific island again, but you don't. You are of course discovering islands and villages and talking to people, but that belongs in the story section. So let's talk about the spooky monsters. When it comes to the monsters, I would say this is a game where your imagination does half the work of making it scary. The night is dark and spooky, but honestly from my experience, you aren't in that much danger. But you feel very much in danger because of how dark it is. All the weird lights and eyes, and because everyone has been telling you that the night is dangerous. So you keep expecting something to come at you from the shadows, and spoilers, that didn't really happen to me. except the anglerfish pretending to be a boat. There are of course dangers out there, but my boat took far more damage from my poor sailing than angry spooky fish. There is some panic meter mechanic, and I found it was so easily manageable that I didn't really see what it does. You're never that far from a place to rest unless you are really bad at planning out your journey, or you are somehow blind to that big ass clock at the top of the screen. But those weird lights, when they get close to you, they increase your panic meter. And I think the only thing they did is that weird fish would swim into my cargo hold or something. I'm not clear on it. In order to tell you about the monsters, I will have to spoil a bit. In the main story, you will have to sail to 4 different clusters of islands. On the way to the Gale Cliffs, you can see the Leviathan. He's big and scary, but never did anything to me, so he's cool. But in the Gale Cliffs, there is this absolute dick who will come at you and bump your boat, breaking squares in your cargo hold so you lose the fish or resource you gathered or disable your equipment. So you have to go back to town to repair the boat. You have tools to keep the monsters away, like sailing away, which is easier with better engines, and you can unlock a speed boost through the main story, and you can also unlock Banish through the main story. You activate it and monsters go away. You also unlock a teleport back to base ability. There is one more ability, but I'm gonna leave it a mystery. So let's sum up the gameplay loop. Fishing minigames and dredging. Sell fish to upgrade boat and drop off the valuables you got from dredging either at the trader or collector. I really enjoyed this gameplay loop. The fishing minigames are simple and diverse, but also really quick, so you never get bored of them. And upgrades feel really good, and when it comes to the Lovecraftian things, it did make the game more interesting. It's a good obstacle that you have to learn to play around. The mechanics of the game really complement each other. Good ingredients coming together to make a good cake. Now let's talk about the icing. Story. Picking up from the premise, you are on the job to gather more relics. That is the main story. Going to different areas to get relics, and usually there is some danger you have to learn to play around. And the reward for progressing the story is of course the abilities, but also either getting rid of the biggest danger of the area or making them far easier to play around. And maybe learning a little bit about the world. But after playing this game, I wouldn't say that I learned a lot about the monsters. They kinda just are. And I didn't see any concrete explanation for them. You could make a MatPat game theory about why the monsters came based on some spoilers with a collector, but even then that theory falls apart, and the best explanation is just that the monsters are just a thing in this world. That have either always been there or been there for a long time. You don't learn much about the monsters, but you do learn about the people of the game. The collector, the player, and other characters. And for the main story, I enjoyed it. It's one of those classic indie game weird horror-ish stories, and I would say it would fit pretty well in Lovecraft's collection of books. Minus the black people, maybe. Because he might, well, during that time in history, maybe he had a distaste for black people, possibly, allegedly. Side quests, you also have those. It's mostly would you please catch these fish for me, thanks. Or find item in shipwreck or deliver a package that very possibly destroys a man's life. There's some interesting stuff in there, but my favorite is when I rescued a stray dog and gave him a home with a scientist woman. Wholesome. There's also some altars you can come across, not much story to them, but you can get good items from them, and they add to that whole occult, creepy vibe of the game. Yeah, I like the story. Conclusion. I would say Dredge is short and sweet. I spent 20 hours with the game, and as a verified gamer TM, I consider that short. It's a small cake, but it's damn tasty. That enthralled me the whole journey. I got addicted to fishing and dredging so I could get those sweet upgrades. The Lovecraftian aspect does a lot to make the game more interesting and engaging. I recommend the game, and I give it this. Out of this. Subscribe, call me Uncle Brian, and have a great day.